just a bloke in a bar.
What's going on, brother?
Not much, bro. Thanks for having me. Just on the off season, getting back to pre-season soon. So,
Mate, how is we were just speaking before, and the ACL, the dreaded ACL. Have you done one of those before?
No, I haven't. I've done no knee injuries, so I've had 2 shoulder surgeries. But obviously, it's the dreaded injury in sport, the ACL. So, hearing and seeing people do it is something you sort of wish you never have to go through. But fortunately, this year was my turn, and about 5 months into the recovery now. So yeah.
And I got to ask you, nationality. So Bailey Simonsson, but you're multi-heritage as well.
Yeah.
What's your other side?
So the name's through my dad's stepdad, Simonsson.
Okay.
Swedish name.
Yep.
But it's not a blood name, but it's quite cool. And so my mum's Australian and my dad's Kiwi. And
oh, man.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And in regards to the off-season with the ACL, is this one of the first off-seasons that you've had like such a serious injury, or have you kind of had it before?
Probably my second time having a big injury in the off-season. The first one was after the 22 grand final. I did my shoulder. I was had surgery straight away. So
did you do it in the grand final?
In the grand final, yeah. So operation, so sort of ruined my off-season. But it's never fun having operation off-season, but it is what it is. You got to get back and ready for the season.
Yeah, it is. It's part of rugby league, but it's one of those parts where I think that, and granted, I'm sure fans are you get a lot of positive messages from friends and that, but it's very hard to explain the headspace as an athlete you get into with an injury, especially in the off season, because usually the season is so long and so tiring, you just want to get away. But when you have an injury, it's pretty much like all you're thinking about.
Yeah, 100%. I think you hit the nail on the head there. Like, it's just, footy's so draining. Like, we love it. That's what we do, and we love what we do. But the off season is so important because it's that time to just mentally refresh and get away from the game and sort of fix up niggles, get the body right. I guess when you have a major surgery, you miss a lot of that time, and a lot of the times back in the gym doing rehab, you probably don't get the same mental break from it. So, it's definitely tough, but it's what we sign up for, and it's just part of the game.
Yeah. And this off-season, they've taken you back into like Para Eels? Do you do training there during the off-season to make sure you're doing all the right rehab?
Yeah, probably the first few weeks. There's a group of us in rehab. There's myself, Junior, Mitch too was trying to get himself right for the Kangaroos stuff. So there's a little group of us for a few weeks that kept training and doing rehab. But then obviously after that, I got away. You need some time away. So went overseas, Japan, had a good break. And now
how was Japan, bro?
It was good, man. It was sick. Good shopping. I was telling you before, just pretty much followed the missus around shopping. So it was good. Some good sightseeing and pretty hectic food there. So it was mad.
It's somewhere that me and the missus definitely want to go see, just because it's such a culture shock.
Yeah.
Like, I think, Europe is, don't get me wrong, I love Europe. And also America, I'll go America. America is like, obviously there's cultural differences with us in America, but it's kind of the same. Like, you can kind of get around and the cultural norms. What I'm so interested in the Eastern culture, like Japan, China, all that, is it is truly like just different.
Yeah.
Different. Did you experience that over there?
It is, but I quite liked it.
Yeah.
Like, the people there are so respectful. And that's what everyone said before we went. Like, the Japanese people were so respectful, very quiet. So it is a bit of a shock. Like, I was on the train, like, talking to my missus, talk quite loud. Sometimes everyone's looking at me, she's hitting me, telling me to shush. So
no way.
It is different. Like, on the train, you don't talk. On the restaurants, like, you don't really talk loud. So it's a bit of a shock, but it can be good too.
Yeah.
Quieter. Probably just different.
I was watching a travel documentary literally last night where a good bloke went to China.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you know how when you're waiting for a plane or a train or whatever, some people, not in Australia with trains, but for a plane, you'll see people sleeping on the chairs and that.
Yeah.
So over there, people were waiting for the train, and it's similar-ish, like waiting for a plane. And they are so like respectful over there that he showed a video of everyone lying on the benches that usually, like in Australia or whatever, you would see like a homeless person or whatever, which is like, I'm not having a crack at homeless people or anything like that, but like they might be lying on it or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas over in China, it was just people lying waiting for their train, and they had taken their shoes off to not dirty the public benches.
Yeah.
And it's just that little detail that's a cultural difference of like in their culture, I assume anyway, it's super disrespectful to dirty a public bench.
Yeah.
Whereas like us, like we'll drink on it, we'll you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%. It's just the little things. I think, like I was saying, they're just so respectful. Even like, there's a few times we drop something, like they come straight up, pick it up, tap you on the shoulder, give back your phone or whatever you've dropped. And
Yeah.
probably wouldn't see that here. Someone probably grab it and just turn the other way and run. So
Yeah.
it's just awesome people. I definitely recommend it to anyone keen to travel.
What about technology-wise? Was it as good as, we always like picture Japan to be? Is this like, or was it just pretty much the same?
I reckon it was better.
Yeah,
That was massive. Even like ordering your food or different things, like all the systems they have there, the public transport, everything just seems a bit better, like the technology sort of side of things.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was just a case of being on holiday, everything seems cooler, but just everything runs smoothly there, I think.
Yeah. And in regards to your off season outside of Japan, what have you been doing? Have you got any hobbies or anything? I mean, I'm assuming you can't do it because you've got ACL, but
Yeah, I was playing a bit of golf before my knee and I enjoyed that. Obviously, couldn't play that for a while. I just had my first game back not longer, actually. It was just dreadful.
Yeah.
I do that. I live in Coogee, so I go down to the beach a fair bit, just cruise, man, like just hang out with mates. Nothing too hectic, to be honest.
And how far is the ACL on track at the moment?
Yeah, so I'm about 5 months post-surgery. Everything's been going good. Return to run, straight lines. Probably ramp it up a bit next week when I'm back full-time pre-season. So just been trying to keep on top of my weights and sort of build that strength back up, because that's probably the most important thing. You lose a lot of that strength in your leg and those muscles. So it's been good.
Yeah, and new coach as well this year. It's such a weird experience as a player with a new coach. Because there's this obviously you're going to miss Brad Arthur, I'd assume anyway. But at the same time, there is a bit of an excitement because there's something new, but there's nervousness. Like, what does it feel like for the new coach coming in?
Oh, pretty much all of that. I mean, definitely miss Brad. He was great for us and for myself personally. But obviously a fresh start is good sometimes. I think it'll be good for us. And I've only met Rousey a couple of times, but he seems really good. He's come from good system, seems like a great bloke, and everyone I've spoke to has had nothing but positive things to say. So I'm looking forward to see where he takes us.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to speak to him yet or not yet?
Yeah, when I was in sort of those first few weeks of off-season, he'd already come in and started planning. So had little chats to him and stuff, and nothing major around footy, more just life and family and that. But he's a good bloke, so I'm keen to get to work with him. Yeah,
I mean, it's exciting. I'm excited for Para Eels this year. It was incredible what Brad Arthur did for the club, but it's also just interesting to see, something fresh, something new. Yeah. I guess this season for you guys, it was such a strange season because from a fan's perspective right now, watching you boys play, sometimes you'd play this footy and it would be like top 8 footy. Like you played this kind of footy where you would beat some of the best teams in the comp, but then other times it would just kind of fall apart. What was it like internally this year for you guys?
Yeah, I think it was probably felt how it looked. Like we're I think inconsistent is probably a good way to put it. We knew that our best footy, we knew that could match it with anyone, and that's probably been the story of the last few years. But it's just that inconsistency. I think it didn't help, losing players like Mitch and Dill, halves, and they're massive for our team, especially someone like Mitch. He sort of steers the ship. So I think when we lost him for a while there, it sort of threw us off track, and we probably didn't have the right direction out there. But also, I don't know. I think yourself, it's so tough in NRL footy week to week. If you're just slightly off, you'll get found out. And for whatever reason, I think we just weren't able to be consistent with our performances. I can say that we prepped well. Training was good. Brad did a fantastic job while he was there, and all the staff. So there was nothing I felt that we were leaving, undone. It's just come game day, we were just slightly off, and we just couldn't find that consistency. So, I think that this year, that'll be going into next season will be a big focus for us, is trying to find consistency in our game. It's about being that 10 out of 10 team week in, week out, like you see Penrith do. Not having an off week, and we've got the ability, but it's about consistently doing that. So that'll be our challenge, and hopefully we can do that. Yeah,
it is. It's so. If someone asked you, like, I think sometimes fans will go, "Oh, they must have been this season. They must have, trained differently or something." But the crazy thing is that whenever you go really well in a squad, and someone says, "What do you reckon the difference was?" And you go, "I don't know, something just felt different. I don't know what it was." There was just this like unsaid belief that it was all working. And then when Sophie said, "Where do you think it went wrong?" It's like, I don't know, everything just like didn't feel right. It just didn't feel like that consistent. I mean, you ask anyone that's won a premiership, it's a little bit different now because Penrith have won 4 in a row. But before that, when you would ask someone that won a grand final, like, and we'll talk about obviously your grand final year, they would just say, I don't know, we just believed. Like, I don't know what it was that year that made it special, but there was just this special feeling for that year.
100%. I think that old saying too, like winning's contagious, and so is losing. Sometimes you get that confidence every week you're winning, and you sometimes forget how to lose. And then on the flip side, constantly losing, you sometimes forget how to win. So it is definitely massive, that confidence side of things, and that's why I think, professional sport, a lot of it's just that mental top 2 inches.
Absolutely. And so many times, like let's say you've just unfortunately you've been on a bit of a losing streak, you get into a game, you're 30 minutes in, something happens, and subconsciously you just immediately think, oh, here we go again. Whereas if you're on a winning streak, you're thinking, oh, no, we'll be sweet. It's fine. But it's just human nature. And for yourself this year, obviously you did get injured, but I did feel that, before your injury, you were really starting to find some form again. What did you feel this year for yourself?
Yeah, I was pretty happy. Obviously, as a team, we weren't getting the results, but on an individual level, I think I was probably playing some of my best footy this year. Starting to get some consistent games back to back, without injuries. It's always tough when you have injuries. Sometimes finding form's hard when you have injuries and interruptions and stuff. So I felt like I was getting consistent footy in the one spot and starting to build some form. But obviously the injuries shot that down, and that's all right. That's just that happens in footy. So that's my goal now next year, is to get back, train hard, and just play consistently again. It's
crazy how you can train the hardest you've ever trained in a preseason, but nothing will make you footy fit the way just game after game after game will make you. It's so weird.
100%. It's like every first trial you'd know from playing. You train all preseason, you get flogged for hours on end on the field, and you get that first trial and you're 10 minutes in and it's just like nothing you felt all preseason. It's like you said, nothing matches that game intensity, and you need a few weeks to get it going for sure. Yeah,
I felt like sometimes even your body getting used to contact, like you would take it for granted how battle hardened your body was by around 16 or something, because it happens in such small increments. You actually don't realise how battle hardened your body is by around 16 until you go away and you don't do something for a few months and you come back to preseason and like every tackle hurts, and it's so weird how it works like that.
100%. It's like you get in that flow in the season, like you said, sort of midway through it, your body's, like you said, hardened. Pre-season, you come home some days, you're just going like, what is
going on here?
And the first few rounds too, it's the same. But especially when you're young, I think as you get a bit older too in your career, you sort of adapt a bit faster. But it's all the funny games of it.
Mate, it's rugby league, baby, rugby league. And what was it like seeing Mitchy Moses, have such an incredible year? Like I personally, I just think his journey is one of the most interesting journeys in rugby league because when he came to Para, he had all the skill in the world, but there was just parts of his game that he probably needed to work on. And he just kept turning up and built himself into such a well-rounded half. What's it like seeing him go so well this year?
Yeah, I think if you ask Mitch to sum up his year this year, it's a bit of a hard one because he's been so good in the Blues space. We saw what he did there. It was amazing, and sort of got to fulfill that potential there at that level. And then recently we've seen him at the Kangaroos level, and he's been outstanding for them too. But then he obviously missed a lot of footy through injuries with Para, and I think if you asked him, he would trade all that stuff for a premiership at Para. So he's massive for us. He loves the club, and we love having him play. So that was disappointing that he couldn't get on the field as much as we know he would have liked for Para. But then on a personal level for him, and as a mate, seeing him go and play well in those levels where we were just waiting, I guess, you knew the potential was there, and to see him fulfill that, and it's deserved. He works so hard too. People don't see, everyone talks about, like you said, his natural talent, but you probably don't see the work he does behind the scenes. And I saw firsthand how he worked so hard to come back from injury, to get fit just to play in Kangaroos, because I think people forget he hasn't played for 13 weeks.
It's crazy.
He's been out injured, and seeing him pretty much put himself through a pre-season while the boys were playing and get back to play for Australia was huge.
Wow. I mean, it is, we spoke about it a little bit, but not playing for 13 weeks and your first game back is for your country.
And that's so hard to do too.
And at 7 too.
Like even just trying to come back and try and play a cup game after 13 weeks would be tough. Like just like we said before, the match fitness.
Yeah.
And then you're in a test match against the Kiwis, like that's
and you've got to lead the team around.
Yeah,
like,
right.
mate.
It's pretty crazy.
Now, is he as competitive off the field as I assume he is? Like, is he a guy if table tennis is on?
Oh,
he's,
yeah.
I could
yeah. We've had a few games of pool and stuff at a pub or whatever. And he just loves winning, but it's good.
And look, I know Gutho is like loved by the playing group, and obviously he's been told, he can go find somewhere else. I guess what's that like as a player that's been with Gutho for a few years now?
Yeah, obviously, we love Gutho. He's been our captain. He's been a leader there, and everyone sees what he does for that club. Like, he puts his body on the line week in, week out, and at training he brings energy. He brings just so much to that club. Yeah, you can't really fill his shoes, but I guess you got to do the best you can to fill as much as you can.
And is the yarn that he was playing with a torn quad and 3 broken ribs?
He was
back into the season. That's true.
Yeah, that's true, bro. He's not normal, Gutho. Like, he couldn't train. Honestly, he wouldn't even be able to walk after a game. All week he'd just be on physio and somehow run out and play.
And play, like, have 25 hit ups and like be the fittest on the field.
Yeah, not just play, like rip in. So no, that's true.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And so was he getting needled on that to play with his ribs, or was he just going?
Yeah, he was getting needles for the ribs, I think, and around the cartilage and that to help that. And then the quad, I don't actually know what you do for that.
You just can't do anything. Yeah, you just got to do your best.
Run.
Yeah.
I think he saw, and that's how much of a competitor he is. Like, we were just playing off to not get the spoon.
Yep.
And someone like that, that's the pride and love he's got for the club. Like, he's willing to do that to make sure we don't get the spoon.
Yep.
That says it all.
Yeah, wow. That's mate, I cannot, like, broken ribs and a torn quad, like.
Yeah, but the ribs, I don't think, I've had rib cartilage damage. I don't think people realise how painful a rib injury is.
Mate, this, like, getting out of bed's hard with broken ribs.
It's like even sneezing, like,
oh,
it's the worst.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you were born in New Zealand? Or
I was
born
in Sydney. I was born in Sydney,
okay.
yeah. With Dad came over, met Mum. I was born in Sydney.
Yep.
But moved around a lot as a youngster. Sydney, then Dad's job, moved to Canberra. Spent time in New Zealand. Between the three, moved a fair bit. But it was good.
Yeah.
It was good, bro. Moving when you're young, you're just going with whatever your parents say. So went to a few schools. It was a bit disrupted, I guess, looking back. But I didn't see it like that. Like, now I've got best mates from so many different areas: New Zealand, Sydney, Canberra. Yeah. So like, it's pretty cool.
It's isn't it weird as a kid, because you don't really have expectations as a kid. You just, like, whatever's happening, you just go with it. Whereas when you become an adult, because you have expectations, you begin to get frustrated with if things don't go the way you think they're going to go.
Yeah, 100%.
Whereas a kid, you just have that freedom of just like, okay, like, I'm just doing this, doing that kind of thing.
Definitely. I think, like you said, as an adult, like, it wasn't the plan, I don't think, for my parents to move so much, but obviously with their work, or mainly my dad's work, circumstances change, and you got to uproot the family and move. So it probably wasn't ideal for him. But like I said, looking back now, you get to meet people and build connections you have for life. So it's positive in my eyes.
Now we have a segment brought to you by Grumpy Coffee, mate. And I want to ask you, what makes you grumpy? And what turns your frown upside down?
Yeah. I'm going to go with what makes me grumpy. And you'd probably back this up too, is boys in pre-season, when you get off the field and they don't shower and jump in the ice bath.
Oh, yuck.
Because, like, I don't know if you know, in pre-season there's always the boys that have like a boil or a ringworm. And there's a lot of stuff that goes on. Susan boil. So,
yuck.
Man, if I see someone off the field and straight in the ice bath, like, that's a no-no.
At least get the hose out and wash yourself down. Come on, boys.
Oh, it's just horrendous. Like, it's always the young boys too. Oh, sorry, they think that don't really know. Yeah. They just jump straight in.
Bro. Mate.
What was the other one?
What turns your frown upside down?
What turns my frown upside down?
Makes you happy.
A good coffee in the morning.
There we go,
coffee
baby.
in the morning.
There we go. See, that's what I'm talking about, man.
That's it for me, bro. But make sure you shower.
Oh, mate, I'm with you, bro. I'm with you. It's funny. Each year, so I wrote up this like full-on guide to preseason. I'll have to release it again around this time each year. Just the same guide each year, because it's the lessons are timeless. I'll have to find it again to post it on socials 100%. Because, mate, preseason's just a dark time. It's just a dark time, mate.
It's like it's weird because you get like you would know, you wake up in the morning. As you get older, it's not as bad. But when you say you're younger, you wake up in the morning and you're just like in your own head, like, what are we doing today? You just know you're in for just pain. And then, but you finish the session, there's no better feeling when you finish a tough session. It's like that endorphin hit and you walk off and you feel so good. But it's just that cycle, and the next morning it's just up and down. But I think now, like as you get older, I think I'm going to my 7th, 8th preseason. Like you just
accept.
You just know.
Yeah.
You just accept, and your body becomes a bit more used to it.
Yeah.
And like you don't even care what you're doing now. You just whatever. Let's just get it done and rip in.
Mate, the pressure you put on yourself as a young fella.
Yeah.
Like I think as you get older, you basically just say to yourself, I'm going to go as hard as I can.
Yeah.
And whatever the result is,
Exactly.
all that matters is that I rip in.
Yeah.
Whereas as a young fella, you're thinking like, I need to be the best and I need to like win everything or
100%.
whatever it is. But I think that it's just so good at finding out who has what it takes to play first grade.
You learn pretty quick, and I think that's why the young boys is probably so much nervous for themselves. But as older boys, like you sort of learn quick who's going to last and who you want to play on the field with you, because like NRL's so tough, and there's a reason preseason's so tough because of that mental barrier. Like you get on the field and there's points on the field where you're absolutely spent, but you got to keep turning up. So you learn quickly who's sort of got that mental toughness.
100%. Mate, so you're born in Mona Vale. And so you attended Marist College, Knox Grammar School.
That was in Canberra,
in Canberra, and Newington in Sydney.
Yeah.
And so Newington is a union school?
Union school, yeah.
So did you play union or league growing up?
I played both.
Yeah, okay.
As a kid, I'd always play rugby league on Saturdays, and union was on Sundays. Moved into high school, I played league too. Then it was probably when I got to my later years at high school at Newington, when you're playing sort of first 15, it's quite serious, that comp. So
did Kim Murray go to Newington?
Yeah, he was in my team.
Yeah, okay.
He was our captain.
No way.
15, yeah.
Far out.
He was a weapon. So we played together.
Yeah.
So I just played union for a couple of years, year 10 and 11. But then in my last year, I ended up playing the Holden Cup they had back then in the 20s. I was playing league. So that's sort of when I went back to league then. And
okay.
I was both.
But didn't you play sevens for Kiwis?
Yeah, so I finished school, played 20s in my last year of school, finished school, I played rugby too, and I was at the Dogs at the time, juniors, and they'd offer me a 20s contract, so it wasn't a full-time opportunity, and then I had an offer at the time from the Australian Sevens to go full-time into their program, and then ended up going to New Zealand Sevens because people over there knew me through my dad, and I was playing rugby, and then my dad and that said he's going to sign with the Aussie Sevens, and they said, come trial here. So then I had a week's trial over there, and they ended up giving me a contract there. It was like 50K or something.
Yeah.
Nothing much, bro. But I just so went to New Zealand Rugby for a couple of years after school, which was awesome. Like you learn so much there, like on your game. I think Sevens was a really good grounding base because it's a lot of skill orientated. You get a good fitness base. So for a couple of years, that was really good to do.
Yeah, it's actually, before we get into that, take us back to Newington, because when I spoke to Cam Murray about it, he genuinely talks about it like the best time of his life, like truly one of like the greatest year of his life. Because didn't you win something the last year that you were there or something?
Yeah, we won the GPS. I think we were joint premiers actually with Scots. Can't remember.
And you'd beaten them you'd beaten them during the year or something like that?
Yeah, but there's no finals in it. It just works on points.
Yeah, okay.
Which is annoying. Like you should have finals.
Surely, at the very least, whoever won the game that they played each other in gets to win the comp.
Yeah. It was weird because we were joint premiers, but then in the last round of the GPS comp, they go to the game and give the premiership like a big trophy to the team that won, and they came to ours, and not Scots, but we're joint, and then we're celebrating with it. And I was like, what are they doing? So it was good for us, but I don't know, maybe it was because we won that game, but yeah, it was good. Newington, like the school footy, I still say today when I speak to boys at school, is like some of the best time of your life playing school footy, because you're playing with mates that you go to school with every day, some of your best mates, at the time, and then the whole school goes and watches. It's a really big culture thing there, and they get around it. So it was mad. Like we had Cam was our captain. He was a weapon too, obviously. And we had
did he play centre?
Yeah, he was 12 inside centre.
Yeah.
Then we had I think James Turner and Nathan Lawson, who both were just at the Olympics with the Aussie Sevens.
Yep.
A lot of boys that are now playing Super Rugby. So we had a pretty stacked team. But yeah, at that time we were just young, having fun, and it was mad.
Yeah, wow. Okay, so at what age do you reckon? Because to make the Newington side, because it's a rugby school and obviously you won GPS, But what age do you reckon before that when you kind of realise, like, not I'm doing this for fun, but I'm actually pretty decent at this? Or did you was like footy always a priority in your life? And what I mean by that is like, I can't remember a year in my life where sport on the weekend wasn't the most important thing. Like from 5 years old, sport was everything to me. Was that like for you, or was it just fun?
No, I was the same. All through even primary school, like since I can remember, did rugby league, rugby union, then in summer we did athletics. Like that was just our whole household. Like that's what we did. Mum and dad would be driving everywhere, paying for things. Like I was pretty lucky too. Like dad would show me a lot. He used to play rugby. Like he would play for the All Blacks.
Yeah. Oh, the actual All Blacks.
Yeah, the ABs.
Wow.
So he was obviously a good player.
What was his name?
Paul Simonsson. Yeah. So he did a tour in Japan.
Oh, okay.
Played a few. We didn't play heaps of tests, but
so is that your stepdad or is that?
No, that's my dad.
Oh, okay.
Like yeah.
Okay.
So he played heaps of tests.
Yep.
And he was good player. So he taught me a lot. And then I think ever since when I was young, I wanted to be like him and follow in his footsteps. So
sorry, I got confused, bro. So your last name's Simonson.
Yeah.
So that comes from?
Oh, my dad's stepdad.
Your dad's stepdad.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry.
apologies, bro.
No. So my dad and mum raised me. Both.
Yeah,
no
okay.
stepdads for me. Like
okay, my bad. I apologize, bro.
No, you're right, bro. So that name comes from my dad's stepdad, or
who was
his name.
Like Norwegian or something?
I think it's Swedish.
Swedish.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if he just got the name through his Swedish.
Yeah. Okay.
How it worked.
Okay, that makes sense. Apologies, bro.
Yeah, no. So my dad raised me. Always great dad.
Yeah. Okay, my bad. Because that's why I was like, if you had a stepdad, then your dad that played for the All Blacks, was he there? But anyway, he was there. He
was there, mate. He was always there.
Holy crap.
So yeah, as I said, like as a kid, he would always be at the park kicking the footy, throwing the footy around, and just like and then everyone's dad's their hero, I guess, when you're young, and
especially the All Blacks. Like we're not talking about any team; we're talking one of the best teams in the world.
Exactly. And I didn't really understand. I remember knowing that it wasn't until I got a bit older you sort of realize how good that is, or like how good a team they are, and to be able to play one game for them is like you're obviously very good. So then,
how many games did he play for them?
He went on a tour to Japan. I think it was like 5 or 6.
Yeah, wow, that's so good.
But then he ended up having a few knee injuries and sort of cut him short.
And that would have been during the time when if you did have an ACL, it was almost career ending.
Yeah, I've seen the scars and wow. Like he had 2 of them, and it is pretty much career ending then. And
so did he play in the New Zealand? Did he play in? I don't know if Super Rugby would have been around then.
Nah, well, it wasn't even professional then. Rugby union.
Yeah, wow.
It was. There was still obviously the All Blacks in that, but I think there was just the local. It's the NPC now.
Yep.
So he was at Wellington for a bit.
Which actually the standard of the NPC is like really high. Like I know it wasn't called the NPC back then.
Yeah.
But the standard of local footy back then in New Zealand would have been like.
Yeah, because they were all playing.
Yeah.
Then he was at Waikato for a bit too. So he played rugby. So obviously took a lot from him. And then like we touched on, sport was I just loved doing it. I wouldn't say, at that age in primary school, I was thinking, that's going to be my career. But it's obviously a dream. Like everyone wants to sort of play footy. So I just stuck with it. I was quite good when I was younger. Then thinking in high school, there's a little period where everyone goes through puberty a bit earlier and grows, and probably didn't grow. I was a bit of a late bloomer.
Yeah.
I wasn't probably again until I was sort of 16, 17. Then I started coming back in the picture and making, a few more teams and that. And even then, you still probably don't realise until, I think it was probably after school when you have a couple offers, or maybe when I played 20s, that you start to see it as a bit closer and there's a bit of a pathway. Then you just chase it, I guess. Did
you ever feel pressure because your dad had achieved so much at all, or did he make it a real good environment?
He was like the complete opposite as a dad and as a sport parent, I guess. Like he would come to the games and support us, and he was awesome, but he always used to say, I don't care what you do, I don't care if you play rugby, soccer, AFL, music, whatever you do, support us. So he was awesome for that, and I think I'd be the same when I have kids. I think when you've played sort of professional sport, you realise, just let them be kids.
Yeah.
And it's funny, you see parents and there's 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, and they start asking you about, how's my kid going to get here? And it's like, man, just let them
be kids.
Do you know what I mean? And I think, like I said, when you've played, you sort of know that, and you don't need to put pressure on them. So
for sure, it is. My son is 1-year-old.
Yeah.
And he was technically born in New South Wales, but he's a Queenslander. The ongoing joke is that he's going to play for New South Wales to just spite me, because I'm a Queenslander, obviously.
Yeah.
But it is a really, you find yourself in a really weird balance, because you obviously want your son to be the best version of himself.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know the negatives of chasing a professional athlete's dream. Like, you know what the pressure is. Like, 100%. You know the sleepless nights, the stress, the worry.
Yeah.
And you think you don't need that, son. Like, you don't need 100%. That pressure right now. So it is a weird balance but at the same time, there's a part of you that thinks, like, there's an ego part of you that goes, if you're my son, you can be great. And that's your ego talking, obviously.
Oh, we all have it too.
Yeah, for sure.
Normal. Yeah.
And so right now, like, it's just, it's just weird balance that I'm trying to get in my head when he does turn, when he's old enough to actually go and play sport, of like pushing him to be as good as he can be. If he does do that, obviously, if he doesn't, but at the same time, making sure that he, like, if he doesn't play professional sport, it does not matter. It does not matter one bit.
Bro. Yeah. He's happy and healthy, it's it, eh?
Because there is nothing worse than seeing parents just, like, there's a difference between pushing your kid to be good, and putting so much pressure on your kid, he feels like completely trapped.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, it sounds like your father landed on that really nice balance between, like, pushing you to be, if you wanted to be good, you could, but at the same time, not making you feel bad about it.
Yeah, I think, like you said, they did definitely have a good balance, because it was still like, oh, like, we'll go do sprint training, or do you want to go kick the footy? But it wasn't like, we're doing this, get in the car. It was like, oh, do you want to go do this? And because I just I love going and being active and doing sports. So for me, it was fun. Yeah. And probably because I wasn't pushed, because maybe sometimes when, and you're pushed to do something, you sort of resent against it and you don't want to do it. So I think you found a good balance, and, when you love doing something and it's fun to do it with your dad too, it's sort of a good way to bond with your dad. So it was cool.
I remember this when I was, so I went to nationals for running. And so, like, we didn't grow up with any money. Like, anytime we went away, we were scraping the barrel to just pay to go away.
Yeah, all the fees.
And so, it's just so expensive. And so much so that me and my family, we never went on family holidays growing up. Like, that literally, that's not a thing to me. That it's when people say, oh, we went on a family holiday to, like, Bali or whatever, I'm like, like, you're rich. You're rich. Anyway, so we went down to nationals, and so I went down there, I had won state for pretty much everything, like 100, 200, 400, you name it. We went down to nationals, and I did the heat of the 800, and I had the 100 and 200 to still do. And I said to my mum after the 800 heat, because the 800 for me was my least enjoyable. Yeah. And I said to her after it, I was like, I'm not doing it. And she'd already paid all the money down there. Yeah. My grandmother, rest her soul, she's no longer with us, but she was down there as well. So they'd paid money to go down there. And so I said to her after the heat of the 800, I don't want to do the finals, just don't like it. I'm going to do the 100, the 200. And she, at that stage, she could have said to me, hey, we are down here. We have paid all this money. But she didn't say anything. She just let it, like, linger. Yeah. Just let it linger. Didn't say anything. So I went to bed that night, her thinking that I wasn't going to do the 800. I woke up the next morning and I said, and I just said, oh, I'll do it, whatever. Yeah. Won a national title, bro. Yeah. Won the Australian titles for the 800, but didn't win it for 100, 200.
Yeah, there you go.
But it just shows you, if she was harsh on me, I probably would have rebelled.
100%, yeah.
It's just a good balance from parents. And I'll never forget my grandma crying when I won that.
Yeah, it's cool.
Good parenting got me that.
Exactly, eh? I think just let kids figure things for themselves. Yeah. Like, in the end, you ended up doing it.
Mate.
Probably because you're competitive too. You're not waking up going, nah, I don't want someone else to
do it. Anyway, so you get into, so going to Newington did your father think of that as a good school because of Union, or how did that all land to go to Newington?
At the time I was living in Canberra, and I signed to go play like a SG board deal with the Bulldogs. Yep. Like, when I say sign, it's like you get like $1,000
some gear,
if that. I think it was like $600. So I was going to be in their junior programs. So then obviously they were like, we'll move him up to Sydney. So my auntie and that were living in Sydney. So I moved to my auntie's place and got a scholarship to Newington to do rugby. Or it's a rugby school, yeah. So I got a scholarship there. And lived with my auntie. So it was more about just getting me, probably they wanted me to go to a good school, and that rugby program at the school was good. And as I said, I'd played rugby union too. So it was good for me going to that school.
Yep. Okay, so you get picked up to go to play under 20s for the Doggies.
Yeah.
What made you? Because you're in under 20s for the Doggies straight out of school, which is pretty good. Like,
Yeah.
you're on the right track. What was the catalyst to go? Was it because Aussie Sevens offered you something? Like, how did that all come about?
Yeah, looking back, it's always sick. Like, I can't really remember why I changed over.
Yeah.
I think it was more of an opportunity to train full time, to be honest. Because like the 20s, you work during the day.
Yep.
You go train the Arvo. And I think I had talks with them, but there wasn't really anything discussed to be full time. And I just wanted to be a full time athlete. I think so. The opportunity to train all day, be that professional athlete was probably just drew me to go do that. So it probably wasn't, I want to play rugby, I don't want to play league, because league's always been my favourite. So it's probably just that.
Yeah, okay.
And looking back, maybe I was a bit impatient. If I waited like 6 months, I probably would have been playing training full time. But when you're young, you don't really know, and it's easy to look back in hindsight and say, but it's probably that.
Man, you're always so impatient when you're younger.
Oh, it's the worst.
It's crazy. So you switched to Union and you represent New Zealand Sevens team at the tournaments in Hong Kong, London and Paris.
Yeah.
What was that like putting on that famous jersey?
Yeah, it was unreal. Just for myself, and pretty emotional for me and my dad too. Obviously I spoke about him and his footy, and just felt like doing it for him, putting that jersey on. I remember him calling me after, and he was quite emotional. And just proud to be able to do that. Represent my family, my dad, my brother, and that live there still. My nan, my grandparents, all of them. It's cool. And then obviously putting that jersey on is cool too. It's not the All Blacks, but it's the All Black Sevens, which is, and just putting the fern on across your chest is pretty
and they're not
cool.
Too bad at Sevens, by the way.
Yeah, good Sevens team too. So, man, it was awesome. Again, I was only young. I think I was 19 or 20. So that time, like you said, you're impatient and you sort of expect things. Yeah. But looking back now, it's something that I'll cherish forever. I've forever got a number as a All Black Sevens player, and something I can tell my kids. And I think I appreciate it more now.
And do you remember your first game running out in the Sevens? Where was it?
So the first time was Hong Kong in the actual tournaments, but my debut was actually in the Oceania Games in Fiji. It was in Suva, and we played the Oceania Games. I remember just versing Fiji and getting pumped by we got pumped by them actually that day. Their Sevens, everyone knows, they're unbelievable. I remember you just tackling them, and then you look up and the ball's 20 metres the other way and they're scoring in the corner. So that was cool though, just awesome experience. It was awesome. And so
you're a 19, 20-year-old and you're flying over to Hong Kong for the Sevens. Was that the first?
Yeah.
Yeah?
That was the first.
What was that experience like? What do you remember from it?
Again, that was crazy. For people that don't know the Sevens scene, Hong Kong Sevens is the birth of Sevens.
Yeah, wow.
In the Sevens world. So it's a massive, big stadium, 60,000. They sell it out. It's more of a party. They got a big party stand. The atmosphere is just wild. Still now, it's probably one of the best atmospheres I've played in. In front of. So that was unbelievable. And you're flying over in business. You feel like a king. Yeah. But, it was just cool. Looking back now, honestly, I'm just super grateful that I had that experience, and something I'll cherish for a long time.
And you put the jersey on to play over there. How did you just go? Did you just win?
In the Hong Kong one, we came third, I think. We made the semis, lost the semi, then had the fourth playoff and came third, and you get a bronze medal for third. So that was cool too at the time. Looking back, it feels so long ago, but that was awesome.
London, what was that like?
Yeah, London again was cool. You do the London, so they go away, and it's sort of 2 tournaments across a fortnight period. So I think the first time was London, was at Twickenham Stadium, which was packed too, which was unreal. And then the next week was in Paris. Can't remember the stadium, but another great atmosphere. So it's sort of surreal when you're traveling around, you know, exploring the world. Because like you said before, you hadn't been on holidays much as a kid. I was the same. I'd only ever been to New Zealand. That's the only place I've ever been overseas. So to all of a sudden be flying to Hong Kong and London and Paris and looking around, it was very eye-opening for me and just crazy and a bit surreal. But I think we came third again, or whatever it was. So I didn't win any of those tournaments, but had a heck of a time. It was awesome.
Who was the best player you played in Sevens that potentially went on and played for the All Blacks? Any of the boys or?
Who was in our team? Caleb Clark, the winger.
Yeah, wow.
He's gone on to the ABs and he's a beast. He was a beast at Sevens too. there's probably the best players. They just full-time sevens. Like there's boys, Joe Weber.
Yep.
Some of the Fijian boys, Vili Karoi. He was a beast too. But the best that I was played with that went to the All Blacks was probably Caleb. Yeah.
And so then the Raiders come knocking. Was there any other teams that had come knocking at this stage? And what I'm assuming you were really appreciative and enjoyed the sevens, but were you always in the back of your mind thinking, I'd love to go and play league, or did you just pop up out of nowhere?
Nah, no one came knocking, to be honest. Okay. I was playing sevens. I had a 2-year deal in the sevens, and I was finishing up my last year. I had some personal things going on with family and that, and I wanted to come home. I just wanted to be around. I had my brother in New Zealand. He's still there now, and I've got my grandparents and a lot of family there, but I didn't have my parents and my sister and my other brother here. It's like I miss them. I miss some mates, so I wanted to come home. And I actually just left before my contract ended and just asked for a release and went home. I didn't sign anything. I was just working with my mate, actually. His dad has a construction company, and I was just, what were we doing? Demos.
Yeah, no way.
just labouring around.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to play, to be honest. I actually, like I said before, I had some things going on, and I just felt a lot of pressure in playing and the full-time environment. I probably lost a bit of enjoyment for sport. I remember having a chat with my parents and my mum and dad and saying, like, they were in Canberra still, and I flew to Canberra, and I was like, I'm going to go move up back to Sydney with my mate and just work. So I don't think I'm going to play anymore. I think that's me. Just want to work and hang out and just cruise.
Was this the pressure of everything, do you think? What
I think so, yeah. Like, I just, pressure, probably that I put on myself, to be honest, like trying to make it. And then I just lost the enjoyment and like just really, lost the enjoyment, didn't want to play. And I remember just talking to them and saying, we're going to go work. And again, they were like, sweet, like, we'll support you, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But it was then I ran into Pete Mulholland's, rest in peace. Like, he was a great man, and used to be at the Raiders as a recruitment officer. Ran into him at a cafe, and he knew me from when I was younger, and he'd asked me what I was doing, and I said that I'd finished rugby and I was just working, I wasn't going to play.
So he would have known you from when you were playing league growing up in Canberra?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
okay.
He then ended up contacting a manager that I still had in league and saying, like, why doesn't he just come do a pre-season with us, just a train and trial?
Yeah.
They rang me and I said, no, like, I don't want to play, like, I'm done. This was just before 2019 season.
No way.
And then I was like, nah, I don't want to play. I've sort of had enough. And then I had a conversation with mum and dad again, and they just said, look, we'll support you, but you're throwing away a talent. And like, we think deep down they knew I did love it, and I'm so glad they did, because I did love playing. I was just more probably the ego and the stress of and anxiety of the pressure you put on yourself sort of made me lose that enjoyment. But so I ended up, fast forward, I said, I'll take the train and trial. And I sort of just made a promise to myself, like, before the preseason, that I'll just go, I'll rip in, and I'll leave like no stone unturned. And whatever happens. If I get a deal, and that'd be awesome. And if I don't, I'm going to give it everything and have no regrets. So that's how that all sort of unfolded.
Yeah, I mean, I think there might be some people listening going, how could you possibly, you played for the All Blacks at such a young age, the sevens. Yeah. You're getting an offer from the NRL club. How could you possibly ever consider turning that down? Yeah. You're so blessed and lucky to have what you have. But I do think, unless you've actually experienced the anxiety and pressure as a 19, 20-year-old with, like, even little things like, so you leave your school and everyone knows you've gone to an NRL squad or something. Yeah. And let's say you haven't started playing first grade yet. Like, you might feel ashamed or embarrassed, like, I haven't played yet. Or they might ask you, how's it all gone? Like, it's all good. And so, like, there's so many things that you're dealing with week to week, pressure-wise. Then that's not even including if you don't play well on the weekend and you go into a video session. And we'll put it this way. Imagine next time you're at your job, because you got to remember at this stage you were on minimum wage, so you're on 50K. So nothing, some people would go, oh, you're on 150K. So like, but at this stage you're not. No. Imagine going to your job, you're on 50K, and every single day the boss is riding you. Yeah. And then if you don't hit your target for the day, you're doing a video session about your day, telling you how bad you are and how much you need to improve.
Literally, yeah.
That's what it is. And like, I totally get people go, but what about the end result of potentially playing? Yeah, for sure. But it doesn't take away the pressure from that early days.
It doesn't too. And like I touched on, when you're a 19, 20-year-old kid, you don't see things you don't have the right perspective, I don't think.
Yeah.
Like you say, you're so impatient.
Yeah.
you don't sort of break things down correctly and look at the bigger picture. So for me at the time, that's just what it was, and I was obviously struggling to deal with it and wasn't sure what I was going to do. I think like a lot of 19, 20-year-olds, you reach a point where you finish school, you don't really know what to do or what you want to do. And I've seen so many mates that were such good players, lost to footy in the game too because they've given it away for similar reasons. So pretty just grateful that I had my parents at that time to, in a nice sort of way, just say, why don't you just give it a go? And I think they knew that I would love it and enjoy it. And it's the best decision I made because I had some of the best memories of my life at Canberra. And honestly, after the first day of preseason, I was like, this is where I'm meant to be. Like, I've made the right call and didn't look back. So it's crazy how a split second can.
Crazy. Yeah. And the importance of your family saying we got your back.
Yeah.
Like 100%. if you fail down there, like if it doesn't work, we got your back. It's all good.
Exactly.
Just getting told that, it's a privilege to be told that, by your parents.
For sure.
So you get down there and day one, even though I'm sure it was super hard, you just loved it.
Yeah, that preseason was, I don't think it's just because it was my first NRL preseason. I think that was like Sticky's preseason's hectic, bro. And our old trainer then, Nigel Ashley Jones, like a great man, but it was like, training was like hectic. Like I've never done anything like it. Like the first week, Monday, Wednesday, get pumped. Thursday, Tuesdays, wrestle days. Even worse in the field, probably wrestle sessions.
Oh man, so bad, bro.
Then I remember we had the first Saturday session, and they sent out the little message over before 7 a.m. tomorrow morning at HQ. Just runners. I was like, just runners. I was like, it's not what you want to hear. I was like, we get there. And I was like, he puts a session up and it was 12 times 800 meters. And I was like, he has to be a G up. I was looking at it. We honestly went out there. You do an 800.
So old school.
Yeah. We had 3 minutes to do it. 2 minutes, something. The backs was different. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But it was 3 minutes rest in between. You do a set of 6 and then you have 4 minutes off and then you do another set of 6. That honestly almost broke me, bro. Like I was like, this is out of control. Like, and that was for 12 weeks every Saturday. And it was so tough, but we were so resilient by the end of that preseason as a team. And like we'd been through so much hard training together, army camps, everything. And I honestly think that's what led us into such a good 2019 that year at the Raiders. But that preseason was the gate.
It is weird how like, that old, because that's old school. Like
I haven't done anything like that.
Yeah, that's really old school. That's similar to what we used to do, where we would rock up, and this is the early 2000s, so this is like 2005, 6. We'd rock up and have like 4100s.
Yeah,
like you don't do that stuff anymore. You do very game specific. Con games, like the MAS kind of repeat sprint stuff. But there is something about that old school training where like what you do, like, because I'm sure there are probably personal trainers and sports scientists that may listen to this podcast going like here is all this science showing you why this old school training is bad.
Yeah.
But what you can't measure is the mental toughness that it gives you. I don't know what it is, and I couldn't put on a scale for you, and there's no study you could probably do for it. But for what you miss out on in all this extra fitness, you gain in mental fitness.
100%. And it's like there's no replicate for like going to some dark places. Thinking you can't go any further and going further, but not only doing that as an individual, but doing that as a team and helping each other through. Like you said, like you create those bonds that no sports science can create. So,
And so you do that first preseason, and I guess at what point did you start going, oh, like there's a spot here on the wing? Because you debuted on the wing, didn't you?
Yeah. I was. I remember Jordan Rapana, one of my good mates, and he was obviously starting. Him and Nick Kotrick were the two wingers. Rapper had just played for the Kiwis that off season and did his shoulder, so he was out till round 5 or something. I can't remember what it was, and but I still had no expectations to play NRL. Like I was on a training trial before Christmas, and then it happened quickly. I think by December I was upgraded to a development. Did December, then by the time I came back in January, I was upgraded to a top 30. I don't know what it was, but Sticky from the start just really believed in me. And by January, I had sort of leapfrogged a lot of the boys in the outside backs that were there. And in preseason, you have an NRL team and they train against the cup side, and you're doing by the time we're doing a pose, and I was always in the NRL side on the wing. And I was just like, what's going on? Like, to be honest, I felt out of place because I hadn't played league for a couple of years.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the boys probably looking at me like, who's this dude that's come in?
Yeah.
But he just believed in me and came before round one, and he just told me that by then, he told me I was going to be playing on the wing in round one, and it was surreal.
What's that? Do you remember the conversation at all, or just all a blur?
Yeah, it was before the round one. We played the Titans, and it was just training. And I had been training on the wing, and like I said, trialled on the wing, but I still didn't probably think I was going to play there. And I remember before the game, he just came up to bed training and said, "You're going to debut this week on the wing." Me and Big Red Corey Horsburgh were both debuting.
No way.
He told us, and just crazy. Like, it was just surreal. Because you go, as I said, you play rugby league from a kid since I was 6 years old, and it's been a journey. Like I said, it was quite emotional because I'd gone from 3 months before that, I was ready to give it all in, and then I was about to play. So it's just, couldn't really put into words, but it's just awesome.
Just a really good reward for just going and having a crack. Just like, I'm just going to give this a go, you know?
And, since then, and before then, I was just, hard work will take you a long way. Because, like I said, that before that preseason, I just said to myself, I'm going to go so hard. Like, I'll do everything right, sleep right, eat right, train right. And I just dialed in, like, for the whole preseason and worked really hard. And I just think it does go to show, if you work hard and you're willing to, just knuckle down, then good things can come.
Absolutely. And so you make your debut. What do you remember from your debut?
I remember it was against the Titans up on the Gold Coast, and I woke up that morning and it was just torrential rain, like it was just pouring. And all I could think was like, I was just worried about the high balls. I was like, I can't even see the rain. I was like, I can't have a debut and like drop some high balls. So I was pretty nervous, obviously. By the time I got out there playing, I was just enjoying it. We had a good win. I think it was 26-0 or something. Lucky enough to score a try, and it was just great feeling.
Yeah, mate. It's the debut was just like, it's such a relief off your back too, because you did it. I
think like you said, it's a relief. After is probably the best feeling when you go over see your family and stuff, and no one can ever take it away. Like, you've played in the NRL, and for me, I was like, I don't care if I play one game, half a game. No one can take it away from me.
Absolutely. So, And so you scored a try in that game too? Yeah,
I scored one. I remember in the first half, there was BJ Joe Leilua got the ball, and it was a 2-on-1. He dummied me.
Oh, no.
And I was like spewing, and then he ended up shrugging like 6 off and scoring.
Okay, they're all good.
And I was like, spewing. I was like, that's it, it's gone.
Yeah.
And later on, Caesar put a crossfield kick over to me, and I managed to score. So, it was awesome.
Mate, yeah, good. Okay, so that year, and like it's building, round 20, you score a double against Canberra, won the match at Mount Smart Stadium. What was that like, scoring a double against the New Zealand side? Yeah,
it was awesome. I remember that was a really good game. I was just before the finals, and we had such a good year. So I was playing outside. Jackie Whiten was our 6 on our side. I had Jared Croker as my centre. And he was so underrated in the way he could set a winger up, and just his ability with the ball. So, scored a couple. It was a good win. I remember it was a good win, that one. And I was just first year, man. I was just enjoying every moment.
Yeah. It's just you just get caught up in the flow of everything, eh?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so obviously you're leading into the finals. At what point did you start believing, do you reckon? Do you reckon it was the win against the Melbourne Storm in the minor prems, or do you reckon it was earlier than that?
I think it was earlier. Like, Sticky Ricky Stewart is just like, he's such a winner, and he instills it in the team. And still now you see how the boys of the Raiders play. Like, they're never beat. You never write them off against anyone. And he just instills his own traits into the team. So I think I never went into a game, thinking we would lose. And that's probably just off the back of the confidence that he instilled in us.
Yeah.
And then obviously we were winning, and we were sitting in the top 4, and it's round 10, we're still in the top 4 by sort of around 18, 19. Then you start going, hold on, like, there's only a few games left.
Yep.
And you finish top 4. I think when we finished top 4, it was like, here we go. Like, we're in the finals and anything can happen.
And then so you get into the finals and you score a try in the win over Melbourne.
Yeah, so I started on the wing for a lot of my games, and then when the boys all came back fit, it was Nick and Rapper on the wings, and BJ and Jared in the centres. So I didn't think I was going to be in the team, which I was completely sweet with. I wasn't expecting it. But then Sticky, I remember saying to me, because there was a few games we, for some reason, kept having injuries to our back 5, so he wanted to run with an OB on the bench. So I was stoked. Like, I was just happy to be there. Well, that Storm game was crazy, that first final, because we'd warmed up and boys ran out, and the bench runs run down the sideline and go back to the bench. And I remember running back, and Matt Ford comes over to me and goes, "You're on, you're starting." It's like, what? BJ had run out, and the fireworks that go off when you're running out the tunnel had gone into his eye, one of the things.
I made so many memes off that thing,
Yeah,
bro.
right. He's standing on the side, like holding his eye. He's like, "I can't see."
Yeah.
And like, he can't play, like he can't see. And I was just like, what is doing? Like,
Yeah.
They go, "You're on," and then like chucked me on. First I went on to right centre, and I hadn't played centre all year. I was like,
No
what
way.
are we doing here? Like,
Yeah.
ended up, I think Nick went into centre. I went to left wing and scored my first touch, and it was crazy, like just weird, just sliding doors moments. You know what I mean? How things happen. And so that was awesome. I think I played that whole game. Yeah, so I had that one, and then I think the next one was the prelim against South. Yeah,
Far out.
which was awesome.
So you beat the minor prems, like a team that has like Cam Smith in
Yeah.
it. Like, what was that? You know, I'm sure you probably would have seen guys like Cam Smith and all those Melbourne Storm boys. Was it almost like surreal to be able to do that?
Yeah, it was just crazy. Like I said, like it was all just a blur.
Yeah.
I was just on this ride and just felt like, cloud nine. Really, it was weird. And that game was down to the wire. I remember they had a yardage set and they were winning by a few points, and I can't remember who it was. Someone dropped it, and then the next, I think BJ picked it up. Joey Lelu picked it up, ran across and flicked past to Johnny Bateman inside, and he scored under the post, put us in front. Then we just had the D for a few sets and ended up winning. And it was just, and at that point it's like, holy, like we're in the prelim, home prelim in Canberra.
One more game.
Which was huge. They were sold out for Canberra. I don't think they've had a prelim for how long. And you know, I remember that game too. Again, I was on the bench, and then Nick Kotrick hurts his knee, so I'm on for the last 25.
No way.
Again, playing out there was awesome, and Papa scores that try on the post, which is probably my favourite memory, honestly. And like footy was,
I'll never forget that shot of you guys celebrating from like the long shot from behind the.
It was just like seeing him cross under the post. I was just like, we knew then we had done it. Like we're in the grand final. And that whole week was just a blur, man. But it was crazy.
And so you get that winning try against Rabbitohs. Matty's unfortunately is a Rabbitohs fan, so he's good. Okay, so you get that try. You're going into the finals. What do you remember from the finals week?
I remember Sticky was really good, just talking to us about prepping the same. You know, obviously it's not a normal week, and I've learnt that now after a couple of them. It's not a normal week, and I think if you try to treat it normal, you're probably going about it the wrong way, because it's not normal. Nothing about it's normal. But we had great prep. I remember the bus leaving Canberra, the whole city was literally packed with Raiders supporters clapping the bus out. Stayed up in Sydney, obviously went through the week, and game day against the Roosters came around pretty fast, and again I was on the bench. And this time Chance I think he ran like 260 metres in 65 minutes.
Mate, I'll tell you what, if you guys had won that and he had stayed on the field, he was close to the best on the field. It was
unbelievable.
Yeah.
But he just literally ran himself to a standstill. And he just couldn't run. So I ended up going on at fullback. And I was wigging out a bit, to be honest, because
at fullback is hectic in a grand final.
The last 15. I'd played a few games at fullback that year. But the grand final was like, and it was 8-8.
Yeah.
One thing Sticky got on the mic, the coach gave me the walkie-talkie, the manager, he goes, go on there, don't drop any high balls and go back. And I was like, bro.
Oh, no.
First, I remember going on and seeing Cronk seeing the half get it, he started shaping for a floater.
Oh, no.
I was like, holy, here we go.
Yeah.
Luckily, got it and whatever. But yeah, it was a surreal game. Really disappointing result, obviously. And even now, seeing how hard it is to get there and win one, it burns me, to be honest, because I'm like...
Because you had that game, like you had field position, you had them on their try line. Like I know the 6 again in that, but...
It's one of those things though, like shoulda, woulda, refs calls, whatever. You can't blame them. We had our opportunities and we didn't take them, but...
Do you remember, so the 6 again happens... Do you remember the break they made to score? Like, obviously, whereabouts you and who did you tackle in that situation?
Yeah, so 6 again happens, and then they turn it over. They go up the field. I was at fullback, so I was, and then our short side, Kiri called the short side. We had a late retreater, three-man tackle. BJ or whoever was coming out the other side was left on the ground, quick play the ball, and late retreater. So I think it was usually it would have been a wide 4, but this was like a wide 3. So pretty tough to D. Obviously, Kiri, like, eyes up, straight onto it.
Yep.
He gave it to Latrell, and the boys actually did a good job D'ing it. I remember seeing it unfold.
Yep.
They double D'd it well, but Latrell, being him, just bumps someone, flick pass, puts Tupou down the sideline.
Doesn't get enough credit for that play, Latrell.
It does massive. Yeah. And Tupou's down the sideline, I'm there, and he just draw a pass. And, I still remember thinking it was going for my head to try and go for an intercept because the pass.
Yeah.
Well, you get taught growing up, you always take the man with the ball. So I don't know, bro. That always goes through my head, little things like that.
Should have I gone for the intercept?
Yeah, like, I don't know. There's just things that run through my head, but
yeah,
there's not much you can do. That's just,
Mate, like, if you go for the intercept, he dummies and goes through, you're the villain, you know? So. It's always, in those situations, like, me personally, I just do whatever the coach would want me to do. You know, if you've got a coach that says just take the man always, just take the man.
Yeah, that's
but
it.
If you've got a coach that says back yourself, make your decision, kind of thing.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those things where you can look back, but it's not gonna change anything.
Not gonna change anything.
Yeah,
and like, you know,
it's a 1 in 100.
It's a 1 in a million, because even if you do go for intercept, you've still got to, you could have knocked it on. They get the ball. They could score the next set. There's so many things that could go wrong.
Yeah.
So he goes over. There was still time though, if I recall correctly. Did you believe you could? There was something you could do, or no? You kind of felt you slip away at that stage.
There was like 4 or 5 minutes. I think. I still believed, honestly, because we had come from behind so many times. I just thought we'd get the ball back here off a short restart. Like, we're on, because we played a pretty offloading sort of style, off the cuff sort of style. When you got players like Jackie White, and like that year, he was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Rappo, BJ, like, we had so much strike that I was still confident that we could win. But wasn't to be.
Yeah.
Somber feeling after that game, man. Like, never been in a shed like it.
Wow.
Just, I think, like you said, it was there, and to lose it like that was gut wrenching. But yeah, that's footy now. I'm still grateful to have played in it. But
so the next year you sign a 3-year deal, I think. Is it the next year or the year after? The year after, sorry. 2021.
No, a couple of years after. So I played 2020 and 2021 at the Raiders.
Yep.
3 years at the Raiders, and then, the end of 21 after that COVID year was when I went to Para.
Yep. So you signed a 3-year deal with Para. What prompted the decision to go to Para?
It was probably, there's a few things. Me and Sick were always very open with each other. I have my partner, who's my fiance now, who's in Sydney, and she was doing well with work, and I've got family here, so I wanted to at some point try to get up to Sydney.
Yep.
And he knew that, and I was open with him. At the time, Kotrick had gone to the Dogs.
Yeah.
And he wanted to come back to Canberra, and they were keen for him to come back too. So Sticky sort of said to me, like, look, we're going to bring Nick back. So if you're still looking to go, it's probably good for you to go. Good time. You can go secure a starting spot. And Brad had been in contact with me, and he was keen for me to go there, and it was a good club. I was keen to be a part of it. So it happened pretty fast.
So first season was 2022 for the Eels. And that year you make the finals. Do you get to
GF?
The 2022 you played in... Oh, yeah, sorry. So 23 was Broncos. Yeah. Wow. So first year in the GF. I was thinking 21.
Yeah.
So 2022 you play in the GF.
Yeah.
I mean, so basically, you get the first year and you get to another GF.
Yeah. First year, I might have to go to another club.
Go to another club. Far out. Walk us through that year, bro. Walk us through that year.
Yeah, it was... to be honest, it wasn't a smooth sailing move at all. I think I moved to Para. You would know, moving clubs, defensive systems, it's so hard.
It's different.
Sometimes our system was so different. And I definitely struggled a bit starting there. My D wasn't great, my reads and stuff. I was just struggling with the system. I remember Brad would have me in and talking to me about the system and just trusting it. And it wasn't that I wasn't trusting him. It was like when you're so used to something, doing something a certain way, like I was at the Raiders, when I tried to change, it's just old habits would kick in.
Yep.
But it was still a good year. I played on the wing for the majority of it. Got to the end of the season, I think just before finals, and I tore my hammy. Then Tommy Opacek moved into centre. Wongi moved to the wing. And when I came back, the boys had won 5 or 6 in a row going to finals, so I wasn't in the team, which was tough, but also understood where he's coming from. Then after the first final, Tommy does his hammy, and he's out. And then Wongi was going around on the wing, so he just left. He goes, "You're going to be playing left centre." And he spoke to me on the phone, because one thing he said was, I had a good attitude when I got dropped. I accepted it, and I just did whatever for the team. Like, I trained as hard as I could on the other side. I was in all the videos helping.
Yep.
Because I really wanted the club to do well. Like, I wasn't someone that was salty, and that's worked out well for me because ended up getting back in. And if I'd have been salty or whatever,
probably would have got in.
Probably would have come back to bite me. So came back for the finals. We played Cowboys in the prelim. Played at centre. Yeah, we won that. It was a crazy game. Yeah, it was a fast game, man, up in Townsville too. And then the next week the GF. So crazy ride that season.
It is. I think people it is really hard going to a new club and learning a new system, especially when you haven't. It's the first time you've gone to a new club.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. Like, when I went to the Warriors, I'll never forget trying to understand. Literally talking to Ivan Cleary, truly trying to understand what he was saying to me.
Yeah.
And he must have thought I was an idiot. Like, like, Ivan's like, mate, just do this. And I'm just like, okay, but like, in a sort of conversation, he genuinely might have thought I was an idiot, but I was just so used to the Broncos system with Wayne Bennett. It was up square, slide, up square, slide.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if the Raiders were the same.
Well, we were the same at Raiders, yeah.
Whereas his was kind of like, you know, if you can jam in, do jam. Like, it was, I still struggle with it.
Same.
Anyway, and I think also I was guilty of, I preferred Wayne's defensive system. I think that as a young fella, you're not emotionally or even intelligent enough to realise, let go of the preferral in your head and just dive into the system. Accept it.
And buy in.
Yeah, whereas in my head, I'm thinking, like, this worked at the Broncos so well. Like, you know, we were such a gun side, up and slide. We just keep working for each other. It doesn't matter if a missed tackle. But whereas Ivan was, and I think it's actually changed Ivan's, the defensive system at Penrith now was Serraldo's that he came up with. Again, I could be wrong, but I think that's the case. I
think it was,
But I understand where you're coming from. It is, especially from the wing. In the middle, it's very different because it's...
Yeah, I don't think... People don't realise how hard it's defending on the centre and the wing.
It's tough, bro.
Do you know what I mean? Like, in the middle... Don't get me wrong, they're so much harder physically what they go through in the grinds.
But you don't really have to read.
Decision-making.
Yeah, there's no decision-making.
And everyone goes... It always makes me laugh. People say, the wingers always scoring. Like, just stay on the wing. Mate.
Then you get in trouble for not jamming in.
It's
because I think people don't realise if the centre...
You follow.
Yeah. And also, though, if the centre scores outside your centre, that's still your fault.
Yeah, it's still you,
It's not the centre's fault because your job is to help the centre if he gets gassed.
Yeah.
And so when people go, just stay at your wing, you go, I would love to do that.
Don't get me wrong, it'd be easy.
I'd literally just stay out in the wing the whole time. But it's your job to cover whatever the centre does. But anyway... So that year, you get into the grand final, though.
Yeah.
What was, you just got up against a juggernaut. Like, they were just red hot.
Oh, man, it was... I remember being still pretty confident because we'd beat them twice that year.
Yeah.
Sorry, we beat them twice in the regular season, but they beat us the first week of finals.
By controversial calls, if you ask me.
Yeah, but I was still confident because whenever Para versus Penrith, like, we were always up for it and we would always come out to play. But... I don't know, for whatever reason it was, like, our prep was good. We just got blown off the park. In 20 minutes. It was 20-0 or something. And it was just like, man, this is going to be tough to claw back. And we're going at halftime, 20 or whatever it was, and Brad talking, and still confident, like, let's just get our game on and try and score one. And then all of a sudden, it's, you know what I mean? You just get in the rhythm and see how we go. But we came out, they scored again, and it was like, obviously that belief just deflates. And, yeah, it was tough.
You actually did pretty well to make it like...
It became 26-12.
Yeah, you did pretty well to not blow out, I reckon.
Yeah, it looked probably closer than what it was, to be fair. But, you have to give credit to them that day. They just... Fisher Harris and Leota, then their back five were just rolling, and we just got blown off the park. But, obviously gutted because 2 grand finals, 2 losses, and all you want to do is win one. So to lose 2 is like just sucks, but... That's what you keep striving for, what brings you back. So, yeah.
I'm assuming the Raiders one hurt more because there was a chance, or what do you reckon?
I think if I'm being honest, the Raiders one hurt more only in the sense that you come so close and you were so close to winning it, and then it just gets snatched with minutes to go.
Yeah.
Whereas, when you're just beaten probably convincingly and you're just not the better team on the day, that hurts. But when you think maybe you were the better team on the day, it hurts more.
Oh, man, I can only imagine. And I think what's ironic, and it's just funny how the world works, like, they did to you what Storm did to them.
Yeah. the year before,
you
whenever
know,
it was. Yeah,
whenever it was, 2 years before, like just come out, experience. You guys didn't have any experience in a grand final. So it was just one of those games where I just think that like their grand final experience was just so much more valuable. I think when you watch the game at the time, it just looked like they looked like in their first grand final.
Sure. Like I said, it's a different beast. Finals footy, let alone a grand final.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think we've seen them the last few years do that to a couple other teams too. You know, the Broncos probably started well, actually. They probably had a different sort of game. But then the Storm again too, a bit of an inexperienced Storm side. They've capitalised on that, and now they're very experienced at that level.
Oh, mate. The incredible thing about the Panthers is they have won in so many different ways. You know, like they had the really close game against the Rabbitohs, and obviously against you guys, they were... And then against the Broncos, it was this bizarre, like...
Yeah, it was
They
crazy.
started really well, but they didn't actually score that many points. And then...
That was nuts.
And then the Storm one, just incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. So I guess, so you obviously play in that grand final. I guess, so you re-sign with the club till 2027.
Yeah.
What was the thought process behind that? Like that's a good 3-year extension.
3 years, yeah.
I'm assuming you'd be pretty stoked that you got a 3-year deal locked in.
Yeah, it was. I'd been talking to. I was off contract. I've been talking to Para. I wanted to stay at Para. I enjoyed it there. Like the boys, like didn't want to move clubs again. Yeah, like we just spoke about, it's hard moving clubs. Yeah, start again everything. So I was keen to stay, but I was also talking to a couple other clubs. And had some good verbal sort of offers, and then I did my ACL, and straight away, you know, a lot of clubs sort of went cold, which is understandable. Doing ACL, it definitely affects your value because it's straight away. You know what I mean? Like it's a big injury, and they don't know how you're going to come back. So it affected me definitely. Like with those offers, like they went cold, and I can understand. But Para still stuck by me. Still, you know, backed me and believed in me. So that means a lot to me that they're sticking by me. 3-year offer, and just enables me to set myself up and continue in Sydney. Like I said, I'm getting married in a month. I've got my fiance here. We have kids soon. Like we want to set up our lives in Sydney. So it's awesome to be staying at Para.
Yeah, it's man. Again, it's that you know, not spoken about that much, but like losing offers because of an ACL injury.
That sucks.
Just devastating. Just devastating. I really got a lot of respect for the Eels that they backed you in because they could have given you a 1-year deal.
100%.
You know, they could have just said, "Oh, we'll see how it goes." Kind of thing.
Yeah, they definitely could have, and that's why I'll be working real hard to repay them because honestly, like loyalty for me means a lot too, and for them to do that is it's huge. Yeah.
And so you'll be back for round 1 next year. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it falls round 1 sort of right on that 9-month mark, which is sort of the standard return. So fingers crossed, all things going well, I'll be hoping to come back round 1, and depending on how much footy I can get in pre-season, that might mean, you know, some time in cup and build my way back up, or however that looks. I just want to, you know, first of all get my knee right and get back to full health, and then, you know, obviously get back in the side and get going.
Mate, can't wait. Ask all the boys, just favourite rapper of all time.
Favourite rapper of all time. When I was younger, my first CD I got, the old Walkmans used to have a CD.
Yeah.
Got an Eminem CD. So it was pretty standard, but it was probably my first rapper I liked.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. Mate, the amount of times people say Eminem, it's just crazy. Crazy. Like, I reckon 8 times out of 10 people will say Eminem.
He's probably, to be fair, actually, I wouldn't listen to him now. Who do I listen to now? Like, I don't know. Actually, I don't really listen to much rap, to be honest.
What do you listen to?
My playlist is so weird, bro. Like, you probably think I'm a freak. Sometimes I'll be in the sheds, I'll have like Pink on, or I'll have Eminem, or I have country music on, or I have DJ Noise, or like, honestly, like everything.
Yeah, right. Favorite movie of all time?
Favorite movie of all time? Oh, The Campaign's good, bro. Watch Campaign.
Oh, that's like so good, bro. Yeah.
Campaign, or like
when he punches the baby accidentally.
That's such a good movie. So good.
Oh, that's the best.
Probably that.
Mate, thanks so much for coming on, bro. I really do appreciate it. And I hope you get back to your best for sure.
Thank you, bro. Thanks for having me.
Boom.